So this is Dan, and he's going to be showing you how to tie the sticks together. And this is like just a little sample of what Dan can do. This is his house, and this is, if you look at these post and beam construction, this is all pegged together. So he really knows what he's doing. So Dan's one of those people who can do absolutely anything. As you can see, he's dismantling his car right now. He has every lumber supply you'd ever want to have. He can make anything. So you got the right guy. All right, so Dan, if you were challenged with having sticks of bamboo and twine, and you needed to make a good, solid connection, how would you do that?
I would cut notches in each piece where they intersect, and then I would lash those two pieces together at that point. Then they can't slide because of the notches.
Okay, so how would you know where to make the marks?
Well, I would put it down in a fashion that is loose, and then I would say, is this the dimension I want, or is this the configuration I want?
So you'd measure it out. You got to have a drawing beforehand. You got to lay it out, and then you'd know exactly.
Correct. And then I would go, oh, that's where I want that element of that truss, and I will kind of mark the point and say, okay, that gives me where I want my notches.
All right, and then what?
Well, then we have to make the notches, but you have to use a knife that's very sharp and be very careful with it. So now you take your mark that you've marked on your part of your truss, and you carefully, very carefully, cut in and carve that away.
When you're doing how like at an angle, or are you cutting in kind of vertical?
Well, it's a matter of, first of all, you really want to go away from yourself, because if you don't, there's a chance you could cut yourself if you lost control of the knife, and you could cut yourself this way. You don't want to do that. So this is the kind of notch you want, something like this. And if you can square the edges like that.
Okay, so you're about a quarter of the way?
About a quarter of the way through.
Okay. Okay, so we got one notch.
And then you have to do the other notch, which is the same procedure. And again, you have to be careful. This is, these knives are sharp. You don't want to mess around with those.
So if you didn't want to mess with a knife, what other ways could we do this?
Well, I have my handy dandy Leatherman here.
And which little tool of that Leatherman of the 4 million tools are we going to use today?
This is a file.
File, yes.
And that file I can just saw through, but not really saw, because I'm filing, because that's what it looks like.
Yep, that's a file.
And I can clean that up. So now I have a good square shoulder to...
Wow, that's a good notch.
So now the next step would be to put it on my truss and go, oh, that's about where I want it. But now I need to make a notch on the other 2 points.
Right.
So that's what I'll do next. Now I'm going to do the notch on the other 2 legs. And again, I think I might use this because it's a little safer. So I can...
So it's not just the spot. When you marked with the pencil, you're following the angle also.
Correct.
That you did.
But if it's a 90-degree angle up here, you only need straight 90-degree cuts. But because this bottom chord is longer, it's going to be a different angle. So we have to make that at a different angle. So that just cleans it up, and now I'm just going to take out the center of it, which makes life a lot easier.
Right, so now you have a loose little notch that you can get without all the cutting. Correct. Now you just knocking out the little bits.
So the file is really handy and it's very safe. You're not going to cut yourself with it. And you can get these files there. You don't need to have the knife.
So then the whole Leatherman's a nice thing to have. Files are cheap.
So you just make that notch. You could do it with a saw too. But you want to be careful with these small pieces that you don't cut all the way through. You want to only go about a quarter of the way through. So, now I have my 2 notches. I can then have those 2 elements.
And they're locking together pretty good?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's kind of interlocks.
So now we have it notched. What's the next part?
Well, we have to lash it together, tie it together somehow. So
All right, this one I'm going to get in close because this we have to really know.
there's one knot you really need to know, and that is
And is this just good? This isn't just good for tying sticks together,
no.
right?
This is good for tying things down on boats, tying cargo down on trucks. It'll work in many different ways.
And this is like a macrame and knitting thing too, right? This
That's
is
right.
used
Yep,
everywhere.
yep. So what you do is you fold it so this longer piece sits on top of the short piece. And then do another one, just do the same thing and put it right behind it. So you end up with 2 loops, and then you can put it on your first element. It doesn't matter if it's below the notch or above the knot. All you're doing is you're making that tight. So now you've secured that to that part of the truss. Engage your notches. Slide that piece down so it's tight to there. And now you want to go around.
Now we're coming around.
Now you want to go around the back side, so you're kind of pulling it toward the bottom one, and then coming up from the back, going down again, coming around the back, going around the top, going around the back, around the top, around the back, around the top, and then you only need to do it 2-3 times, and then do that same knot again. You do a loop, make it tight, and then do one more, same thing, make it tight, and that will lock it right into place.
So you see that connection. So it looks like this in the end. And that's the same thing that we did before we started, just
Correct.
little 2 sticks over here. Okay, so we got 2 pieces together, and how do we get this third one? So what's important here?
So you have to make sure that these notches mate up well. And that means that they fit together and there's not going to be any motion. You can't slide it apart.
So is that really the most important thing? These hitches are more securing together the notch together sticks?
Yes. So the twine is the rivet of the joint. It keeps it from moving apart. But the joint is really important from keeping it from expanding or sliding back and forth.
So you're really engaging the stick. You're putting the forces in the sticks instead of really in the twine.
Right, correct. So we do the same thing. We do that little loop. I'll do it this way. Do a loop. So that loop comes in front, comes back. Do another one, goes right behind it. Make it a little smaller. And then that secures it. Then you can make the rest of your knots. Now, engage your notches. Slide that up to the notch. Engage the notches. This is the tedious part. Come on now. again, behind, on top, behind, on top, behind, on top. And
Is
then,
the pattern important, or is this something that, as long as you're engaging pieces and you keep on coming around really tight?
this is just a good
engage?
way to keep it tight. And it'll keep it, it just keeps it tight, and it's not going to go anywhere. And you can see my notch is functioning well because there's a curve in this element.
Right. So how strong do you think this is?
Well, this is one of the more strong, this is the strongest element that we can build easily.
Yep, triangles are really strong. There's nothing that can, if you make a square, the corners can get wider and get narrower. Triangles really interlock.
Correct.
You push on any one side will get totally just go into being squished. It'll go into compression at any point. There's always something in a triangle that's getting compressed, no matter what you do. And these pieces won't, there's no direction that you can warp out of plane.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, so I got one more question. We got this triangle here, but this isn't three-dimensional. This is just a triangle, and we want to make something in a different direction. Now, I mean, I'm a bridge engineer, and I know that if we were going to put a three-dimensional element in here, we'd probably want not something hanging. We'd have to think of how this is being assembled and put the bamboo piece that's about to get loaded onto the top of another bamboo piece. So you're not pulling at the knot or the lashing, you're actually pushing wood into wood. But beyond that, how do we turn this into something three-dimensional?
Well, if we take another element and we notch it,
Yep.
place it on top of that
And you notched on that
horizontal
direction?
element.
Is there a notch there?
No, but we don't need to worry about it because we're going to be pulling it into this edge here.
Okay,
So see, that keeps that from moving.
right.
So we end up doing the same thing. We take our piece of twine, we make our little loop, we make our second loop.
So that one little thing to know, that hitch, that can
Yep.
take you a long way in life.
That clove hitch can tie down a lot of things. So move it up toward the notch. And this is just, if you have someone to help you, it's a little bit easier, but go underneath, go over the top. And I know it's hard to see. Go underneath. Pull it tight, make sure it's tight. Go underneath, over the top, underneath again, over the top, and then
So pulling really tight. I see that you're pulling, every time you're coming through, you're pulling that twine really tight.
yep, you pull that twine really tight. And then do the loop, slip it over the end, snug it up, and do it again. Now, we can't,
It's really held together really tight. It's not going anywhere.
and if you're really worried about it slipping, you can take it, the twine, and just loop it, like do another clove hitch here.
Right.
And that just locks it to that side. And it can't move this way.
And it
You
can't
can see how
move.
it moves a little bit. But that's because I didn't get it tight.
Right, and put it up to that. So you'd
But
really
it can't
want
go
to,
this way, it can't go this way. That gives you your third dimension.
so if you were going to build a big structure out of this, you would just have it. And this is something like I can picture, like when they build the scaffolding in Asia out of bamboo. This is the idea?
Yep.
Very cool. So everybody look up videos of like how they make scaffolding also in Asia if you want to learn more.